All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. All right, hold on. We getting started here tonight. What's going on, everybody? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Monday Night Raw. Put a one in the chat if y'all can hear me clearly. We just want to make sure we're getting off on the right start, on the right foot here. So far, so good. Let's bring in the folks on IG. Oh, there we go. That IG signal looking rough. Wow, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But all right, folks, what's going on? It is a Monday night. It doesn't quite feel like a Monday today, does it? I don't know. Does this feel like a Monday night, y'all? We see some ones coming in the chat. DC, what's going on? Big shout out to you tuning in from DC. That's right. Where's everybody tuning in from? Look at that. We got to give a big shout out here. Desiree, what's going on? Good to see you in here. That's right. We in here live. Sheila Rogers, what's going on? Good to see you in here. Glad to see you tuning in. Appreciate you tapping into the previous content and whatnot. That's right, we do this every Monday night. Every Monday night. What's going on, Donna? Good to see you in here. That's right, we're gonna get a little deep tonight. But I'm gonna try to keep it light. Cali, what's going on? Good to see you tapping in from Cali. There we go. Oklahoma, big shout out to you. Arkansas, what's going on? Good to see you tuning in. There we go. Big shout out to everybody over there on IG. Do y'all see and hear me clearly over there in Instagram world? Let me know if I'm coming through clearly. Let me know if I sound muffled or anything like that. That's right. What's going on? Anna, good to see you in here. And I got to make my last meal of the day. That's right. Big shout out to you tuning in from DC. Here we go. All right, y'all. That's what I'm talking about. We get a little diversity going on in here. So I got to start off with some tea, and I'm making some lentils tonight. And tonight I got to talk about spirituality, which is something that is not talked about as much as it should be. Right? It's not talked about as much as it should be. And your spirituality is, the reason why the reason why spirituality is so important to cultivate. Hold on a second, let me readjust here. All right, the reason why spirituality is so important to cultivate because You don't want to be doing things and not enjoy what you're doing. You don't want to be doing things and have it not be fulfilling, right? So some things that I want to do tonight is I want to go over my interpretation of what spirituality is, how to clearly identify it, right? Because people have a lot of different ways that they try to use and explain it. So I want to refine what that is a bit, right? At least when I talk about spirituality, I want to talk a little bit more about what I mean when I say that, right? Because I have a clear definition for spirituality and what it is. All right. Here we go. Okay. So I have a clear definition for what it is, right? For me, spirituality exists on a spectrum. It's the ability to connect. There's a language implication, right? So basically the spectrum is, on one side you have egotism, and then on the other side you have spirituality. Egotism is defined and identified by a certain type of language model. So that language comes in terms of me, mine, and I. It is a mindset that is inherently exclusive. It is a mindset that is self-oriented, right? Where there is a distinction made between you and everything else, right? It is a mindset that creates separation or division, distance, right? And then you have spirituality, which is the opposite. Spirituality is identified and defined by a language that is inclusive. We, our, and us, right? Egotism draws division, whereas spirituality closes the gap. It reduces the division. When you cultivate spirituality, you see yourself in everyone and everything around you, right? Everything becomes a much clearer reflection. Everything doesn't seem so alien. Your ability to connect and understand everything in your environment becomes heightened. And then everything becomes more meaningful when you do this. This is my interpretation of it, right? That's how I would explain it. It's not really like a religious thing, right? It's not like a magical thing necessarily. It's not like this thing, like this fairy tale thing that people just make up or whatever the case is. This is like a very real and clearly defined thing that is demonstrated in our psychology, right? There is a magic to it. I'm talking about it in these scientific terms, right? Because in the world that we live in today, especially what we call Western society, right? In this modern day and age that we live in, where like things aren't legitimate until they're viewed through this analytical and academic scientific lens, right? But truth be told, spirituality is humbling because it opens you up to things that, if you're honest, you don't understand, and you never really will quite understand, and that's okay. You don't have to understand everything. You don't have to control everything. Things are what they just are, right? And it's very important to know your boundaries and your distance in these things, right? So it's very humbling in that kind of way. Okay, so the reason why that's important is because when you switch your lens and your language to a more heightened version of spirituality, the way that you see things changes. Your motivations, your goals, your pursuits in life, right, is guided through that lens, right, of inclusivity as opposed to exclusivity, right, as opposed to exclusion. Now, spirituality is one of those things that's extremely important to us, even in ways that we may not really quite realize. I give you an example, like when they pursue marriage, or they want to get married, or they want to have kids, this to a degree is a pursuit of spirituality. It's a pursuit of a demonstration of spirituality. Oh, I turned on the wrong pot. Ooh, 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 ooh. Right? When you get married, you're essentially making an agreement that you and the person you are marrying become one. It's a symbiotic relationship, right? If you think about like the Spider-Man comics with Venom, and Venom talks in language of we and us, right? That's how Venom talks. Venom doesn't talk in this I and me language. It's we and us. It's this symbiotic relationship. And Venom cannot be tethered from the host that it is joined with, right? And that's kind of how marriage is, right? So you and this other person, y'all come together as one unit. And it's a very big deal. And, I don't think that people take it very seriously in our day and age. It's a thing that people want to do. They're like, oh, I love this person, I want to get married. And it's like, that's actually, if you really think about it, it's not just like, oh, you make an agreement to be with that person for the rest of your life. It's not to be with them, it's to merge with them, where you become one entity as opposed to two separate individuals who are in this relationship together. It's not really, marriage is not like, oh, you're just a relationship. It's two people merging together as one. It's a very big deal, right? And merging together as one is that you can't part from each other because you can't separate from yourself. You see yourself in that person. So when they talk about like another person being your other half, that's quite literally true, right? And you see this even like in the animal kingdom, where you'll have two birds engaged in a monogamous relationship with each other, where if one of the birds dies, the other one dies soon afterwards. So when they come into that union together, they can't live apart from each other, literally. Right? If one dies, the other one is not too long before they go. Right? It's that. And that's like a manifestation of spirituality, that if you pay attention, you'll view everything much differently. We see children this way, right? We see our children like you can't part from your children, right? Like once you have a child, your child is like forever, right? They're a part of you forever. Some of us, probably a lot of us, too many, don't really view a spouse that way, right? Because you view it as like a relationship rather than like a real union in the very physical, mental, and spiritual sense. You don't do anything apart, right? There's nothing really, you don't operate separately or independently of each other. It's not what that is. And subconsciously or even consciously, we pursue this. We pursue like this family formation. And people will have a child and then another one and another one and another one. And your family grows, and that spiritual energy within a family unit grows. Right? And it's an amazing and deeply fulfilling thing. But the reason why is because really it's a pursuit of the manifestation of spiritual energy. Now, of course, if you're growing a family and you don't view it that way, that can cause problems in your family. So everybody kind of has to get on the same page with the agreement that we are merging together as like this spiritual family unit, right? Some people are very smart, right? Where the family gets together and eats together at the dinner table, eats breakfast together, goes to church together, right? Or wherever you go if you practice a religion or something like that. They go on vacations together. They play like family sports together. They go on picnics together, vacations together, this type of thing. And these are mechanisms that's used in order to solidify and strengthen that bond, that union that spirituality allows to be possible. But truth be told, if you are going to manifest a spiritual organization or unit with another person, you have to facilitate that within yourself, right? You have to cultivate your own spirituality, going on a spiritual journey. Through my journey in particular, I've experienced this myself, right? I'm not a very self-motivated person. And, I do, I do a lot of coaching calls. I do a lot of consultation calls where any of you in the chat can book a call with me for very little money, right? Because basically I used to do the consultation calls for free. The only reason why they're not free anymore is because people would book calls and then not show up. So I'm like, okay, so people need to put skin in the game. So how much do people have to pay in order to value it enough to show up? That's essentially why it's not free. Why I say it would continue to be free. But that's how I operate, right? So I talk to a lot of people. I do calls every day with people. And, I give an hour or even like an hour and a half. I'm not stingy with the time, right? So just because it's like, 60 minutes on the dot, we're out, right? I don't really operate that way. And I enjoy the calls, and the calls are meaningful when I get to really talk to people and help people figure out their issues and their problems and provide solutions. That's a thing that I find fulfilling, and I really enjoy that. And it's a calling for me. I take it very seriously. I have a 12-week mentorship. I coach people. I like to see people heal and recover and beat their struggles and become greater versions of themselves, right? And I like to help people and support them in becoming that. Right? So I've committed myself to living a life of service. And the reason why I do that, and the reason why I find it so fulfilling, is because of the spiritual journey that I've went on and how I view things. So when I talk to people, I see myself in them. Right? So like, if you just understand, when you talk to me, I see a bit of myself in you. Right? So I see our similarities first before anything else. Sure, the differences are easy to spot, but the similarities are the things that allow me to connect with you. Now, how does this relate to food? Here's where things get interesting, right? When it comes to diet is just simply providing your body with the inflows of energy in order to facilitate the outflows of energy. I can't give you energy that I don't have. Now, food is energy, but the way that that energy is packaged determines how your body uses that energy, right? This is why food choice is so important. Anything that you can put in your mouth, chew and swallow and digest to one degree or another can be considered to be food, right? You can eat eggs, you can eat meat, cheese, you can eat dirt, grass, you can eat anything. You can eat anything and it can be considered to be food. However, not all food is created equal. For me, in particular, one of the most important things that I've learned is that some of the most powerful foods are fruits. Right? The closest thing that you can get to like a perfect human food would probably be fruit. Right? Like if there was one food that can change your life and have you operating on an entirely different level, it would definitely be fruit. A tremendous amount of energy, a tremendous amount of water, and a tremendous amount of electrolytes. Basically, these are like fruits are like edible batteries. They're these watery, oxygen-rich, mineral-rich energy balls that you can consume. And they light up your brain and your nervous system like a Christmas tree and provides you with an abundance of fresh energy that really powers your brain and opens you up. When people talk about like the calcification of your pineal gland, that's actually like a real thing. You can have calcification of vital organ infrastructure, in particular in your brain, right? And it's not just your pineal gland, right? It's your hypothalamus, it's your pituitary, it's your adrenals, right? It's your frontal lobe, all types of stuff, all these areas of your body, and they all work with each other to process reality, right? And give you a picture. When your foods power your body in an efficient way, it allows you to be able to have a brain that operates in a way that's extraordinarily powerful. Your vision improves, your ability to learn improves, everything improves. I know for me personally, the better I eat, the easier it is for me to learn. And so every day I pursue learning to some degree or another. Right? So I try to learn anything: nutrition, biomechanics, computer programming, economics, psychology, physiology, whatever the case is, it doesn't really matter. Language, culture, I'm always trying to learn something. That's every day. And I've done this the majority of my adult life. 20 to 30 minutes a day, and to try to learn a new thing or study a thing that you were already in the process of learning and understand it on a greater level. And you do that every day, right? My pot done boil over. Oh. Making these lentils here. See, I try to cook and talk to y'all at the same time. I'm gonna have to clean that up. Look at all that water. So, for example, you see all of this over here. We got bananas, cantaloupe, pineapple, honeydew, tangerines. We've got Tangelo, sumo oranges, right? I've got cherries in the fridge, grapes, tons of fruit, right? And, we keep more fruit in the house than anything else. In order to power your brain, in order to optimize oxygen uptake to all of your cells so that your cells can breathe and function, you need hydration, right? So you need electrolytes, glucose, and water. And the electrolytes power your cells and allow your cells to take up oxygen. So I gotta make my tea. And people who have issues breathing, they know what I'm talking about. When you increase oxygen uptake, when you hydrate your body. I hear it all the time when I get people on a diet plan, or even people who are just like, yeah, I started doing what you told me to do, and I eat fruits throughout the day, and I just have way more energy. I feel less congested. I have more mental focus. I sleep better, all this type of stuff. The reason why that's the case is because you're providing your body and your brain and your nervous system, really, with an abundance of oxygen, sugar, and water. And this is all just power. It's all just energy, right? And the energy flows from the food into your body, and then you use that energy and you put out that energy. For me, I put that energy out in the form of service, like these live streams, where every week I show up to talk to you guys. Every Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, I'm on here with y'all, right? And I'm always live streaming. I'm not a live streamer. I don't have a career in live streaming. I don't need to live stream. It's not why I do this, right? But I genuinely think that it is meaningful and important work to get on here and talk to you guys about these things, because these are conversations we all need to have, and I think they're extremely beneficial. And I think that I can conduct these conversations and contribute to the conversation in a meaningful way that it helps everybody currently watching. That's why I do it. However, that energy output, for me to consistently do that and have done that over the years, the way that I'm able to do that is by adequately powering my brain, right? Adequately powering my body. So how does food affect your spiritual growth? Well, that's how, right? It's difficult to achieve spiritual growth if you don't sleep well. You're insulin resistant, meaning your body, your blood sugar is always high and your cells are not receptive to taking up the glucose that is needed to power your body. So you're tired all the time, you got headaches, you have a lack of motivation. All right, this kind of just, I'm just tired, I don't sleep well, I've been up all night, I got anxiety, depression, weight gain, high blood pressure, all these issues, fatty liver disease, kidney disease. Having all of these illnesses as a result of energy deprivation and cellular congestion makes it impossible to really go on a healthy and effective spiritual journey, right? Now, for religion, it's a bit different. So you can study the Bible, you can go to church, and you can be among people who are putting out good energy in the church, right? Singing songs, hearing a good sermon, and all of that type of stuff. And it can touch you on a deep level. That's not what I'm talking about. This is not a religious thing that I'm talking about. It's not what this is. It's a mode of operation. It's not even really a belief system, right? A lot of people think that spirituality is a belief system. It's not really a belief system. It's more of a mode of operating, meaning you do it by default. It's a state of being, right? Spirituality is like it's like a group of implications. You're just a certain way. You just operate a certain way. Sure, you have underlying beliefs consciously, but that's not really the thing necessarily that's motivating you. It's not really what it is. Is this thing? Yeah, I gotta. Give me 1 second here. So that's not really what it is, right? Like when a person is a kind, gentle, and good-hearted person, they're not really that way because like they have a belief system that they need to go out into the world and perform those character traits. It's not that. It's that that's just how they are genuinely. That's just the way that they operate genuinely. They have beliefs, they have values, but those things are not necessarily consciously motivating them to demonstrate kindness or good energy or things like that. It's not really what that is, right? Spirituality is not like a thing you can teach a person. It's a thing you have to discover on your own. That's the thing that makes it so unique. You have to cultivate it, right? It's a thing you have to cultivate. You got to discover it for yourself. You have to have the energy to take the journey. When people talk about a spiritual journey, this implies like movement. This implies motion, right? That takes energy. You can have spiritual guides where they can point you in the right direction, but you still got to go. You still have to take the journey. You can only be guided or pointed in the right direction, given ideas of where to go. Think about like, you're walking through the woods. You know how to follow the direction of the sun. You know how to figure out what direction you're in by the position of the sun, by the side of the tree that the moss is growing on, this type of thing, right? It's that. You can smell the weather changes in the air. You can know what kind of weather is coming. There's these cues and whatnot that your environment gives you on the journey. And of course, the way that you eat can make you more responsive or more aware of those cues. And having a diet that properly energizes and detoxifies and cleanses your body increases your receptiveness or sensitivity to environmental changes or cues. Right? So you develop like spiritual sensitivity. So for example, there's certain TV shows I can't watch. Right? Oh, them lentils are just about done. Yeah, there you go. So there's this sensitivity. Like we have insulin sensitivity, we have dopamine sensitivity, and then you have, for me personally, I have sensitivity to certain types of TV shows. Like I can't watch The Walking Dead. I can't watch that show. It's miserable. I don't like the way I feel watching that show. It feels gross. I don't like it. I can't watch Game of Thrones. I don't like it. I don't like the television show. And people just like, you know, eating and raping each other and murdering each other and stuff. I can't. I can't do that. Even like I would play video games, right? And like, you know, you video games, basically a lot of video games, you're just like killing tons of people or things, right? And getting experience points from just like shooting or slashing up different characters or enemies in the game. I'm more insensitive to it now. So I don't really get joy like that from it anymore. It's kind of ruined for me. I'm like, why are these animals just out randomly in the wild so aggressive, and why are they trying to kill me, and why do I have to kill them? It's kind of weird. And why is the game incentivizing me to go and seek out wild animals and stuff that the game calls monsters so I can kill them to get experience points? This is kind of weird. When you're a little kid, you know, the game's fun or whatever, but like when you go on that spiritual journey, your interpretation of these things changes. So just making you aware, there's going to be things that gets ruined for you as you go on this spiritual journey. And your friends group changes, right? So you may have like friends, they go to bars and they drink and do all types of stuff. And you just sit back and you watch how everybody's behaving in this environment. And you're like, I don't know. I think I'm gonna head out. I don't know. It changes. This is basil tea, by the way. Tonight I'm making, so this is basil tea. I usually drink tea before I have my last meal of the day. So here, I'm gonna season this. I'm gonna show y'all, so hold on a second, because I gotta clean off the bottom of that pot. I made a bit of a mess that I gotta clean up. So yeah, certain things, they get ruined for you, but those doors shut or those things get ruined for you, and there's other things that open up and take their place. All right. I'm glad this pot wasn't too hot to burn my hand, because I'd be having troubles on the stream right now if I burn my hand. All right. So this is a cup of lentils, by the way, and this cup of red lentils. So if you look here, that's all red lentils. And so I boil them real quick. I soak them throughout the day, and then they just take a few minutes to boil. Like, it didn't take very long at all. Yep, that's holy basil. Yep. Anyway, thank you very much for these messages, Bremson. You have a great heart. I appreciate that. Appreciate you tuning in. All right, let me catch up with y'all in these comments. I would start my day with prayer or meditation and being grateful. You'd be surprised how important that is. You know, and you know, prayer essentially is just like a way of just checking in. Right? Like when you talk to God, you're talking to yourself. When you're talking to yourself, you're talking to God, right? Or whatever you call God. Some people call it different things. All right, so let me show y'all what seasonings I'm using here for this. Basically everything is what it looks like. Okay, I'm clearing this stuff out. All right. I'm gonna show y'all in a second. Hold on. Hold on. Wait a minute. All right, so this is all of my seasonings. Let me move this laptop back. Give myself some more space here. And let me put down. Yeah, there we go. All right. Let's see. So how can I start on that spiritual journey? How do you focus when living in a big city, living in big cities and other obstacles in life that can distract you? Yeah, actually, so I'm from New York City, right? New York City is kind of rough because it's noisy, right? Like I personally don't really like New York City. I don't personally. So even I have spots that I would go to, right? So I'm from Brooklyn. I put like 4 tablespoons of this in here. This nooch, that nutritional yeast, giving it that cheesy flavor. So like in New York, I have some places. There's a place actually in Coney Island that I call the Emerald Coast. It's not really what it's named, but that's what I call it. I would go there as a kid, and it's just what it reminded me of. I have sentimental value for that particular place. All right. You know, or the beach, or you know, the shore, the shore. You know, the shore. You hear my New York accent come out? I'm gonna go by the shore. Coffee. Yeah, so, and then out here where I'm at, I'm in Ohio, and I like to go to the woods. I think it's a good idea to find places that resonate with you, like places around you that have like good energy, and make it a point to go there in a regimented way, right? So it could be the woods, it could be like some open plains. You know what I mean? It could be the shore, the beach, or whatever the case is, right? But find places like that. It's really important. But spending that time outside, getting that exposure to circulating air, fresh air, and sunlight, if you can get it. Sometimes it's not really particularly that sunny out, but when the sun is out, it's a good idea to get out there, right? Getting outside is really important to that spiritual journey, right? All right, so nutritional yeast, taco seasoning I put in there. Let's see, now I gotta put in garlic powder. And then starting your spiritual journey is having a really good reason for going on your spiritual journey, right? For anything that you do, that you commit to in life, you gotta have a really good reason for doing it. Because when times get hard and you don't feel like doing it, you will quit if you don't have a really good reason for doing it. So that's really important, is having a good reason for doing it. All right, so I'm gonna put 2 teaspoons of sugar in here, because I'm a sugar addict. I don't cut sugar in my diet for nothing, okay? Sugar is the primary source of energy for the human body. So adding like a tablespoon or 2 of sugar to your diet is definitely not going to break your diet at all, okay? But when the majority of things in a meal are bitter or spicy, you add some sweet, balance it out, as you should. And nature leaves cues. It's not an accident that the best source of food in the world is fruit, and it's basically big bowls of water, sugar, minerals, and electrolytes and all of that. That's not an accident. That's how nature intended it. So when people are trying to cut sugar out of their diet, they're not really paying attention. They don't understand. You're supposed to eat sugar. The sugar's not your problem, right? You can't like eat a box of donuts and be like, oh, sugar is bad. It's like, really? So like donuts are not just made out of sugar. You got egg and dairy and butter and preservatives and all types of salt and processed sugar, this and that. You got a whole bunch of other things in there. It's not just sugar, right? So when people are like, oh, I got to cut sugar out of my diet, so I stop eating pastries. I'm like, first of all, pastries are a tremendous amount of fat, actually. So it's kind of like when people say, oh, pizza is a high carb food. It's like, no, it's not. Pizza is actually a high fat food. So I put cumin, sea salt, raw sugar, basil. I'm gonna add some onion powder. All right. And I'm put some cayenne pepper. So you see, I don't play with the cayenne pepper. I like it a little spicy, like it hot. All right. I gotta get some more burdock. Well, yeah, having a really good reason for going on your spiritual journey, right? And then really truly understanding how you define a spiritual journey and have an idea of what you're going to get from it. When I go on this spiritual journey, how is it going to tangibly change my life? What am I going to be like, broadly speaking, as I make my way through my spiritual journey? How am I going to operate? What are some things that I'm going to be doing differently as a person? All right? I think I have to add more paprika to this. This is not looking red enough. Smoked paprika, by the way. All right? So if you want to put paprika, it's got to be smoked paprika. All right? That's what you want. All right. So these are some good questions to ask. How am I going to behave towards my family and friends as I go through my spiritual journey? Am I going to be able to enhance or the experiences in the life of the people around me as I go through my spiritual journey? All right? These are some good questions to ask. Do I love the people around me? Why or why not? So when you ask, how do I get started on my spiritual journey? It starts with questions. There has to be a mission, an objective. And that mission or that objective has to be clearly defined, or at least having it clearly defined makes it easier to stick to. So now I'm going to add some tomato sauce here. I may add some more garlic too, I'll see. All right, so I'm going to add some tomato sauce in here. And I'm going to throw this in the blender. And I think I may have to add some water to it. So we'll see. Let me catch up with y'all in these comments here. Let's see here. Hold on. Let me scroll up. Look at that. You are appreciated. I appreciate you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Do you prefer lentils over quinoa? I tend to eat more lentils than quinoa. I don't really prefer one over the other. They're two entirely different foods. I don't eat a lot of whole grains though, to be honest. If I do, it would be like rolled oats. But yeah, I don't eat a whole lot of quinoa, but I go through seasons. You are so sweet. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, Cali girl, what's going on? Good to see you in here. That's right, Coach got hair. That's right, I got hair. I definitely do. Definitely worth the call. Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely. All right. That's right, Brooklyn, stand up. What do you say? Any thoughts on iPhones, how they affect us? So you mean iPhones or like cell phones broadly speaking? I'm not a big fan of Apple as a company. I think that they're greedy. They're insanely greedy. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Apple. As far as how cell phones in general affect us, I think they're useful tools, but I think we're overexposed, to be quite honest. And that's me included. I'm definitely overexposed, right? In the world that we live in, we're overexposed to internet, Wi-Fi, just all types of technology, and it just adds noise to our lives, right? Too much noise. I'm loosening this up a little bit before I put it in the blender, because I'm going to add greens and stuff to it also. But yeah, so I mean, I'm not going to say, hey, we should just EMF rays, electromagnetic frequencies, right? I think we're overexposed to these things, right? So you can reduce your exposure by, you have a window in which there's certain hours of the day that you use, like computers and laptops and phones and things like that. And then in your bedroom, whatever technology, computers, things like that, you don't keep those things in your bedroom when you sleep at night. So Wi-Fi routers, computers, things like that, you don't really keep them in your bedroom. Those are things that are outside of your place of rest, right? I think that's a good habit also. Right? So, I mean, that overexposure to anything is a problem, but in our day and age with the technology, all the constant scrolling and the social media and the ads and it's a little too much. It's too much going on. And if you're on a spiritual journey, that makes it even more difficult to stay consistent on the journey. So basically with this here, I'm making like a soup. This is like a red lentil, spicy tomato, savory soup. And so that's what I'm making here. All right. Yeah, 24 ounces of it. I think that's enough. Why smoked paprika? It just tastes better. It has a much richer taste to it, I think. It's less flat. Right? So when it gets smoked, it's like an activator. I'm gonna mute myself right quick while I run the blender. So hold on one second. All right, so for the people, just to give a quick recap for the people on Instagram. So I'm making a red lentil spicy tomato soup. So I seasoned it with nutritional yeast, taco seasoning, smoked paprika, onion powder, garlic powder, basil, cayenne pepper, cumin, sea salt, and raw sugar. Right? So that's what I season this with. I need a spoon. I need a spoon. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. So yeah, that's what I season this with. So cultivating that spirituality is one of the best things that you can ever do in your life. It makes life richer and more fulfilling. And it's a great buffer against depression. I've actually struggled with depression throughout my life. Probably, I mean, would I say most of my life? Probably, I want to say. I struggled with depression as a child. I struggled with it throughout my teenage years. My teenage years, it was real bad. My early adult life, like 20s, struggled with it through that. These days, not so much. So going on that spiritual journey has definitely allowed me to be more grounded. Let's see this here. It tastes good, but I think I can add more tomato sauce. So I add more tomato sauce. And I'll add like a little bit more salt. I added a little too much cumin to it, so it made it a little bit more bitter than I would have wanted. So I'll just add a little bit more salt, just a little bit, like a quarter teaspoon, not too much. I don't want it to be too salty. All right. So I'm gonna give this is a little too thick too, so I'm gonna add a little bit more water to it. So not a whole lot of water, just a little bit, because that's already like 32 ounces. So it's already like a tremendous amount. I don't want to be doing too much. All right, let me mute up one more time. All right, so good question, right? Dr. Bobby Price in Yaqui says not to eat sugar. It's bad for us, plus it feeds cancer. So so the thing is, when people say cancer feeds sugar feeds cancer, it's like, well, sure, right? Well, can't sugar feeds your whole entire body, right? And the thing is that your body makes sugar. Even if you don't eat sugar, your body makes sugar. So you can't really like cut out sugar because your body will just make sugar anyway, right? That's better. That's better. So I think like when people say don't eat sugar, it's like, well, what do you mean? Like don't eat sugar from fruit, don't eat don't like season your food and add a little sugar. What do you mean by that? You got to be a little bit more specific. Now, you can add too much sugar to your food. That's true, right? However, for example, for me, right? This whole entire day, the only sugar I've added to my diet from like refined sugar is the what did I put? 1 or 2 teaspoons of sugar in here. That was it. Now that's 2 teaspoons of sugar in 32 ounces of soup, right? Does sugar feed cancer? Sure, sugar feeds every cell in your body. However, this soup is also loaded with things that kill cancer, right? So cumin, garlic, basil, right? The lentils, all the seasonings, the paprika, right? All these things. And then my tea, which, I gotta drink my tea. All these things kill cancer. Now, the thing you really got to worry about, the thing that really feeds cancer is insulin resistance, which causes you to have perpetually elevated blood sugar chronically. You can have like a high carb, sugar rich diet, but you're very insulin sensitive, so your blood sugar comes down really quick shortly after eating. So you have like good blood sugar throughout the day on a daily basis. So there's not a surplus of sugar to really feed cancer cells. And then your immune system is strong when you have a diet that's rich in magnesium and potassium and vitamin K and vitamin C and zinc and, copper and iron and all of these different minerals and antioxidants and whatnot. So when you have a diet that is anti-inflammatory, it's loaded with all type of polyphenols, carotenoids, and tannins, you're drinking herbal teas and things like that, and eating all these medicinal foods and alkalizing your body, well, these foods contribute to the suppression and the inhibition of cancer growth. So you can't look at sugar in a vacuum and dismiss everything else that you've been eating, right? This doesn't work that way. So it's like, does sugar feed cancer? Sure, but we got to be a bit more nuanced than that if we really want to have a good understanding of the issue, right? So they're correct, sugar feeds cancer, but that's not it's not a meaningful statement. Because you can cut all the sugar out of your diet and still have cancer feeding off of sugar that your body is producing on its own, right? So when your pancreas secretes glucagon, and that activates lipolysis, where your liver then turns stored fat and glycogen into glucose and dumps that into your bloodstream, and you're insulin resistant, it raises your blood sugar. Yeah, that's sugar that can feed cancer. So that's what I mean, where you gotta have to be a bit more nuanced than that. Sugar is not really the problem. It's a bit more nuanced than that. Let's see. Many times people around you get offended when you make a change that takes you out of social norms. You have to be willing to isolate for a period of time. Yeah, that's true. That's true. So typically you want to isolate. Let's say if you're in a weakened state, like when you as a person, let's say you're very spiritually vulnerable or you're spiritually weak or physically or mentally weak, it's a good idea to isolate. Because you don't really want to be around negative influences. Because negative influences can cause you to succumb to negative behaviors and things like that when you're in a vulnerable state. It's kind of like if you have people who, they rescue animals, right? And, they rescue an animal that, let's say, is injured. That animal hasn't eaten in days, it's underfed, it's too skinny, it's too weak to walk, it's got injuries, things like that. They keep that animal in quarantine as a protection while they nurse that animal back to health, and then it can go in with the general population of other rescued animals. With human beings, it's kind of the same thing. So like you may have like toxic family members or friends, and you'd have to step back, right? That's a very valid thing. It's a smart thing to do until you can become stronger and then enter back into engaging with these people to one degree or another, completely dependent on you. but you're able to handle it better when you're in a stronger position. All right. So yeah, absolutely. And interestingly enough, once you become stronger and you come back better than ever, people are much more likely to listen to you. Hey, what have you been doing? I want to do what you've been doing. Right? So if you went like plant-based or you were eating more raw in your diet and people made fun of you in the beginning, but then when you make that body transformation and you come back as a better person and you heal and you overcome illness and all of this type of stuff, then they're like, oh shoot, that actually worked? Really? Well, can I do that? Would it work for me? I'm willing to try it. This is the messaging changes. And you become such a powerful person, they're no longer influencing you, you're influencing them. This is another one of the perks of going on their spiritual journey. You become more influential. And you become influential in a positive way, where you have a positive influence on everybody around you. And I mean, look, you'll have haters and whatnot from time to time, but even your haters got to respect you. Right? All right. Even your haters got to respect you. Oh, I missed a little bit of the lentils there. I'm over here. So this is phase 2 now, because I'm going to add things to this soup. All right. So this is going to get kind of interesting. So just stick with me, guys, because it's not just the soup on its own. I'm not going to just eat lentils by themselves. I'm gonna mix some things up in there. Okay. I'm going to add a little something to it. All right. So just stick with me, guys and gals. And my non-binary folks, my gender non-conforming folks. Stick with me, y'all. All right. Let's add in some, let's see what kind of greens I got up in here. I thought I had more. I thought I had kale in here. I didn't have kale in here? All right. So this is what we're going to do. So we got spring mix, mushrooms, bell pepper. All right. So we're going to start with the spring mix. I got a fresh box here. Actually. So I'm pouring the soup back in there. Let me go ahead and wash this off right quick. All right. Let me catch up with y'all right quick. Oh, you see, I had to take a step back from family for a while. You can't heal in a battleground. Also, people won't enjoy the mirror you hold up to them. Stay true. Great video once again. Appreciate you. Yeah, definitely. Good feedback. Let's see. What's your thoughts on health benefits of corn? I'm not like a big corn person, just because I think the corn grown nowadays, I don't know. I've had people have some really weird reactions to corn. I don't know what's going on with the corn that's grown nowadays. I don't know. Some people, I mean, look, corn isn't like the best food you can eat. There's definitely better food choices. But corn is a great way of adding like extra fiber and roughage and whatnot in your diet. You know, corn has some benefit. It just depends on your digestive health. So yeah, I don't really have any strong feelings against corn necessarily. I think there's better food choices, but corn is cool to add to your diet on salads and things like that. And I mean, hey, if your gut can pull nutrients from it and whatnot, and it improves your digestion with the fiber and everything like that, then definitely go for it. Right? So that's what I got to say about it. It's kind of like tofu. I don't put tofu in plans as much as I used to. Because sometimes like people, just like I don't add wheat into diet plans. Right? So I don't really mess with wheat. I don't really mess with corn. Tofu I do for myself, but I don't really put it in diet plans much. Especially for women. I don't really put, because there's a lot of women who have like issues with tofu, particularly black women. Right? So my sisters out there, I don't particularly know what the deal is with the tofu, but some of y'all be having some adverse reactions to tofu. And I learned that in my experience in real time with making diet plans and coaching people. So, and this is not for everybody, but it's more or less a lot of the times when I don't even necessarily know if it's a lot, but it's enough for it to give me pause. Interestingly enough, men do great with tofu. I've never had any men who had issues with tofu. But black women sometimes with the tofu have issues. I don't know what it is, but sometimes it's the case. So it just depends. You have people, same thing. You have people eat corn and it's fine. And then others, they eat corn and they get swelling and gas and bloating and weird issues. I don't know. Maybe it's like, you know, they say, so basically one thing that's important to know is the main GMO foods are wheat, corn, and soy. But the GMO foods are mostly fed to animals in animal agriculture, right? They're fed to livestock. I don't like calling animals livestock, like, you know, but they're fed to animals in animal agriculture, right? Mostly. We don't really eat that stuff. And you shouldn't. You definitely, I wouldn't advise eating GMO corn, right? And things like that. I wouldn't advise that. People tend to have weird gut health issues, deteriorating gut health issues with the corn and the wheat. Corn and wheat, I don't know. The corn and wheat just be tearing people up. I don't know why in particular, but it just seems to be doing that. However, there is a type of wheat that's better than more of the conventional wheat that we have here in the States, which is kamut. So kamut is like an ancient Egyptian wheat, right? It's a bit different. And that one, I've even had people with celiac disease, and they do fine with kamut. And that's a type of wheat. So, you know, just things to consider. Very interesting. All right, so we add in the greens. All right. Here we go. Normally what I do is when I make this red lentil soup, I make the red lentil soup and then like I'll put it in the fridge or whatever in a container or like a mason jar for use at a later time. I'm gonna put this on a low heat, like a real low heat. Adding greens, one thing that's really good, adding the greens to your diet, you get more calcium, you get better iron absorption, and you get more vitamin K from adding greens into your diet. So you may want to add more greens into your diet to increase your vitamin K levels. Your greens are actually really good for increasing bone density and improving your gut health because of the prebiotic fiber and the vitamin K. You get vitamin K1 from your greens, but then your gut takes the vitamin K1 and creates vitamin K2. So vitamin K2 is a postbiotic. It's made inside your gut by gut bacteria, right? So a lot of people ask me about vitamin K supplementation. So what I would say is this. If you have a vitamin K deficiency, it can be a good idea to supplement with vitamin K, but usually people's vitamin K increases as they improve their gut health. Vitamin K is not a thing you need a lot of, but if you add like your greens and whatnot to your diet, I mean, you get a tremendous amount of vitamin K1, which converts into vitamin K2, so you can really get enough from your greens usually. So you don't really need to pair vitamin D3 and K2 together. People usually have vitamin D3 deficiency, but vitamin K2, not so much. Now the next thing is, where's the bell peppers? Oh, there we go. Bell peppers really rich in vitamin C. So if you have, I think I have a bell pepper that I already cut. So before I use that one, let me see if I can find the other one in here. Nope, that bell pepper gone. All right. So yeah, adding the bell pepper, if you want to increase iron, adding bell pepper and greens to these types of meals are really beneficial. Lentils are actually a pretty significant source of iron and copper. So when you throw in like the leafy greens and things like bell pepper, you get a lot of vitamin C to improve the absorption. So if you want to increase like ferritin, if you want to reverse like dietary anemia, when you get like that increase in vitamin C and copper and chlorophyll in your diet along with the iron, that is much better towards reversing anemia as opposed to just supplementing with iron, like taking iron pills, for example. Right, so just little dietary hacks there. All right. What do I think about grounding blankets? Grounding blankets? I don't know. I don't really have strong feelings about grounding blankets. I don't know much about them, to be quite honest. I barely ever hear about grounding blankets. So yeah, I don't know that much about them, to be quite honest. You probably know more about them than I do. So I don't know, maybe you can educate the crowd, right? Put me on game. Are y'all terrified for my fingers right now? Every time I cut stuff on camera, people be leaving comments about how they're afraid that I'm gonna lop off one of my fingers or something. I'm not like one of these, top chefs where I got like these insane knife skills where I cut things real fast and whatnot. That's not me, y'all. I don't have it like that. All right, I ain't got it like that. All right, so we mix that in. Oh yeah, this is looking beautiful. Got the bell peppers and the greens mixed in there. All right, now last but not least, mushrooms, vitamin D. All right, well before that, let me put this bell pepper away. So people ask me, hey, what are some foods that got vitamin D? Mushrooms. So if you want to increase your vitamin D, you get more sun exposure, you can supplement with vitamin D, but then also plant-based milk, fortified coconut yogurt, and mushrooms. In this case, button mushrooms. So I do about like 4 or 5 ounces. So that's about, if I had to eyeball it, this is about, let's see, I'm gonna do about 4 ounces or so. So, yeah, so I'll do like about that much. All right, let's see. I just found your YouTube last week. I like the information you provide. Thank you. Well, much appreciated. I appreciate you for tuning in. I'm a witness that if you follow Remsen's advice, you will definitely see results. My blood pressure has improved significantly in just a few weeks. Coach is the truth. Big shout out to you. Let me tell you something. Much success and progress to you. We doing this thing. What's a good diet for kidneys? I guess in the simplest terms, a whole food, plant-based, high raw vegan diet. So fruits throughout the day, water-rich fruits throughout the day. So your honeydew, cantaloupe, tangerines, pineapple, mango, grapes. Grapes are actually really good for kidneys. That would probably be like one of my top foods. Is grapes, mango, watermelon, what else? Pineapple, berries, and cherries. Cherries, pomegranate also, really good for kidneys. And then herbs, dandelion root, milk thistle, basil, and burdock root, and chamomile. All right. Here we go. And this adds like a nice meaty texture to the soup. So these are a good source of vitamin D, specifically D2, which converts into D3 inside the body. But also this is a good source of boron, selenium, what else? Zinc, copper, iron, what else? B vitamins like thiamine also. And then what else? Am I missing anything? Am I leaving anything out? I think that's pretty much it as far as the mushrooms. Good source of protein. It's basically just like carbs and protein. But, you know, as far as the macro split for mushrooms, it's actually a pretty decent source of protein. Right, so full amino acid profile on the mushroom. So this is a good way to sneak some additional zinc, iron, copper, and selenium and boron into your diet, along with vitamin D and some extra protein. All right. And you don't need a lot of you don't need a lot of mushrooms in your diet, right? So I don't use that much, just a few ounces. If I wasn't putting mushrooms in this too, I would put avocado. I like to put avocado sometimes. I alternate. But today's a pretty low fat day. Haven't had much fat in my diet other than like hemp seeds in my diet today. And I had some cashews earlier. Little cashew snack. Look at that. Y'all keep giving me compliments on my hair too. That's gonna disincentivize me from shaving my head again. I'm gonna grow my hair. I'm just gonna keep growing it out and see how long it gets. I'm gonna look like a wild man. This summer, if I grow my hair all the way through the summer, my hair's gonna be super long. May be off topic, but any thoughts on the use of substances like methylene blue, cilantro for metal detox? Cilantro is good for heavy metal detox. So is parsley. Chlorella, yeah, chlorella too. And things like that to protect ourselves from things we are exposed to. I'm not that familiar with methylene blue. But yeah, the herbs, yeah, definitely. That's good for detox. If you are a person who works with chemicals like paint and paint thinner and things of that nature, these kind of chemicals, it can be a good idea to drink milk thistle tea or eat milk thistle. Milk thistle is good for neutralizing toxins that build up in your liver from inhaling the fumes of these different types of chemicals. Right? So you're working with oil paint, or you're in maintenance or construction or whatever the case is, you're inhaling toxic fumes, then yeah, that can be a good thing to get in there. Normally I don't cook my greens, but I'm making an exception with this, and the reason why is because the heat extracts the micronutrients and whatnot from the greens and adds it into the soup. So I'm not really losing any as much of the nutrients because it's going into the soup. Plus I'm cooking it on a really low heat, so I'm not like, in order to avoid overcooking. All right. So I'm gonna let that heat up a little bit. I'm gonna let it cook. Let it cook. And that be that. You said be careful how much I'm adding. What, you mean the mushrooms? Yeah, they're gonna cook down. Oh, I'm using raw sugar. That's the type of sugar I'm using. Oh, let's see. Yaki and Dr. Price eat a lot of fruit, and Yaki has a lot of juices with fruit. I think she's referring to processed sugar. Yeah, yeah. Now I know she's referring to processed sugar. And for the most part, like, yeah, they're correct, right? Like, yeah, sugar does feed cancer. Like, I think that if you're doing like, I don't know, a tablespoon or two a day of sugar, it's not really that problematic depending on what the rest of your diet looks like. You know, I always look at things more holistically. And I could be wrong, right? But I mean, I've been coaching for a while, and with the amount of sugar that I put in diet plans and whatnot, people still get like really good results. So there's no real like negative drawbacks. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, so if you can add like a tablespoon or two to a recipe, I mean a teaspoon or two to a recipe, and get all types of like health benefits and whatnot, then you know, there's no reason to believe. I had people battling cancer. We didn't avoid sugar. You know. So it just depends on the proportionality. I think the things that I mainly add sugar to are things that have a lot of bitterness in them, like a lot of bitters. But basically, I balance out the sugars that's added by adding in more bitter things to create a balance. So the more bitter herbs and greens and vegetables and things like that. Let's see. Is 2 tablespoons daily cold plus organic flaxseed oil okay for omega-3s? I don't like walnuts or chia seeds. You know, it's a really good source of omega-3s is hemp seeds. So you could do hemp seeds as well. The flax oil, you could do that as well. I think 2 tablespoons might be a lot. I think like 1 teaspoon or 2 teaspoons is enough. 2 tablespoons that's a lot. That's a lot of oil. I don't know if I'd do 2 tablespoons. I need that on a t-shirt at some point. Even your haters gotta respect you. True. Look, they gotta bend the knee. They gotta reckon with truth. Leslie, what if someone has foul breath and no matter the change or oral hygiene products? So if you have like bad breath, it's usually like it's often a gut health issue that is traveling upward into your lower esophagus, and then it's now getting embedded in your oral health, right? So if you don't address the gut health issue, you're going to continue to have the bacterial issue in the mouth, right? So you have to address the issue at the root. You can do like coconut oil mixed with like peppermint, and you can do oil pulling for like oral hygiene. You can like rinse with like clove water, right? So you can do clove water. That's extremely powerful, like antibacterial and all of that type of stuff. So there's things like that you can do. But then also like if like it could be a T-mal issue. Where your liver is not producing the enzymes necessary in order to neutralize the T-mal, so you end up getting like this bad breath as a result. So like really reducing the protein intake to about like 10 to 15% of your macros and having more of a raw diet really helps with that. And then you can implement like, so reducing the dietary fat and protein, especially reducing saturated fat, because that's what enhances the bad breath and all of that, right? So the protein and the fat, when you bring that down, you have more of a hydrating diet, and you have more, like you have your burdock root tea, your ginger tea, turmeric tea, basil tea, these different types of herbs, cinnamon tea. These are antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral, so that's really good for killing bad bacteria. It would even probably benefit you if you took a probiotic, like you supplemented with a probiotic that's like 60 billion CFU with like 10 to 12 strains. And then do like a coconut yogurt, for example, like a probiotic rich coconut yogurt, like a Coco-Yo, for example, or Forager, that's another good one, or Siggy's, right? Or you can also do other fermented foods, kombucha, sauerkraut, kimchi, miso, pickles, these type of things, these fermented vegetables, right? And that also helps with your gut bacterial balance, right? So like the bad breath and things like that is some form of gut dysbiosis usually that comes up and then into your oral hygiene. So brushing your teeth and all that type of stuff's not gonna make a difference. Even if you rinse with something that's like antibacterial, that within like 8 hours, that bad bacteria comes right back. So even if you go to bed at night and you rinse and do the oil pulling and all of that, and then you go to sleep, you can wake up with the bad bacteria back rampant in your mouth again, because it just grows right back, right? So usually if that's the case, the issue is coming from lower. What are your thoughts on the health benefits of amaranth? Amaranth. Yeah, so amaranth is a good source of folate, if I'm not mistaken. It's a pretty significant source of B vitamins, really good prebiotic fiber. So it feeds your good gut bacteria, right? Good source of iron, copper, good source of magnesium, zinc, right? So it's good. It's mineral rich. Good source of manganese as well. So yeah, it's good stuff. All right, I think this is done. This is done. All right, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and turn this off. All right. All right, y'all. It's time. I'm gonna give it a quick taste test first. Where's my spoon? Okay, there we go. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. See, this is my one cooked meal for the day. I've been fruiting it up throughout the day. So this is my warm and savory before bed. Ooh, is that gonna fit? This thing gonna overflow. But I'm gonna test it. I don't do small portion sizes, y'all. I don't do it. I just don't. I don't know why, but I just don't do small portion sizes. That thing is to the brim. All right. And the mushrooms and everything like that, the bell pepper, I mean, it just really enhances the flavor. Well, that's too hot. I'm gonna have to wait. So this is probably like close to like 60 grams of protein and like 100 and probably 20 grams of carbs. This meal is serious. Corn has a type of gluten in it. Or Dr. Osborne. Does corn have gluten in it? I thought that was like a wheat protein composite, if I'm not mistaken. 58 people and 40 likes. That's right, y'all. Hit the like button. All right, we got 56 people in here tuning in on YouTube, right? And then the folks on Instagram, definitely smash up that like button. What's the best way to gain weight? Well, I mean, simply put, I mean, eating more. I would probably say, eating more. Eating more and then engaging in like hypertrophy training in order to build muscle mass. Right, so resistance training and then making sure that you're well fed, right? Really increasing your carbohydrate intake would definitely go a long way. Yeah, I got to look into Dr. Osborne and the corn thing, right? Because people have like what's interesting is like I have people who they have celiac and they don't have reactions to corn. So maybe it's a dosage thing. I'm kind of curious about that. So I'll have to look into that. Hey, you're really the truth. Much love, brother. Appreciate you. I learn stuff from y'all in the comments because y'all bring things up to me and I'm like, actually, I don't know about that. Let me go ahead and look into that. So y'all contribute to my knowledge base. So I appreciate all the questions. What about vibrating plates for the lymphatic system? Yeah, I don't know. I think so exercise and movement in general can help to pump your lymphatic system. Like, I mean, even going for a walk or jump roping or rebounding, like all of these things help to clear your lymphatic system, right? To circulate your lymphatic system. So I would imagine like one of them shake plates or vibrating plates. I would imagine that would probably work too, right? I would imagine so. I don't know to what degree, but I would imagine it would. Let's see. Is frozen fruit okay like berries? Oh, yes. Yeah. Especially with the inflation now. Yeah. So the frozen fruit. Yeah. I mean, actually frozen fruit, I mean, it just preserves the nutrients and the integrity of the fruit. So yeah, frozen fruit is in. I bought 4 pounds of grapes today. Look at that. You're going to go in on the grapes. Hey, hey, Ma. Every time I think about grapes now, I think of Granddad. Didn't Granddad make his own wine in the backyard? with like fresh grapes. Didn't he do that? You got to confirm that for me. I feel like I remember that as a child. What's your opinion on plant-based diet, vegan, but fish like salmon on occasion? What's my opinion on it? I mean, I guess you could eat fish on occasion. I mean, for me personally, vegan is like an ethical framework, right? So generally I wouldn't eat fish unless like I absolutely had to for some reason. But generally speaking, I avoid animal products, generally speaking, just because, I don't need needless violence in my diet. Now, is eating salmon like unhealthy and you should avoid it for health reasons? I don't think so. I think if you eat fish like every once in a while, like salmon every once in a while with your predominantly plant-based diet, I mean, I would imagine that would be beneficial to your health in some degree, not unless you're like frying the fish in oil and doing all of that, then no. Then you're doing more harm than good at that point. But yeah, I mean, is the fish necessary? No. Can there be a benefit? Is there like nutrient density from it that you can get? Sure. Are there nutrients that you can get from the fish that you can't really get from plants? Yes. Yeah, you definitely could. Yeah, absolutely. Like DHA. Right, salmon is a food source of DHA. Your body makes its own DHA, but if you wanted to get DHA from food for whatever reason, then eating salmon every once in a while could do that. If you have a good reason for doing it, I don't really think it's necessary for most people. In some edge cases, it probably is, or could be necessary in some edge cases. I haven't had that experience yet, but I would imagine there's people out there where they may need to make up some type of deficit in DHA and they may want to do it through food or something, so they eat fish. And I mean, so me being honest about it, right? Salmon is generally speaking a health food largely, right? But ethically, it doesn't fit within the vegan ethical framework, right, for me. So that's me giving an answer addressing both of those aspects there. What's your carb intake on lifting days and rest days? Yeah. So carbohydrate intake. Carbohydrate intake, falls in between 400 or 500 grams of carbs, roughly speaking, for me. So for example, like if I have 32 ounces of bananas in the morning, like I have a ton of bananas. So like the 2 pounds of bananas, that's like 200 something grams of carbs. And then if I have like 20 ounces of grapes, that's another 100 grams. So that's 300 grams within those first 2 meals. And then if I do like 24 ounces or something like that of tangerines, that's another 100 grams. So that's 400. And then a meal like this is now over 500 grams of carbs. So that's how it shakes out for me. See, they need oil of oregano for the gut health. That would help a lot. Yeah, oil of oregano is amazing. Oh yeah, on rest days, my carbohydrates tend to be around like 300 grams of carbs. I typically don't go lower than 300 grams of carbs. What's going on, Jay? Hey, coach, is it true that lentils can cause gout? No, I don't think so. I've had a lot of people that I've worked with to reverse gout, and we put lentils in the diet plan. They've never had an issue with it, so I wouldn't say so. Let's see, what's the benefit of black seed, known as black cumin? Do you recommend it? Yeah, so black seed is extremely medicinal. So yeah, it's phenomenal stuff. Anti-cancer, antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral. Yeah, it's some good stuff. Yes, your granddaddy did make wine. I know it. You see, like when I think of granddad, I think of grapes, red grapes. That's why like my favorite type of grapes now is like red grapes. Yeah. That's why granddad had young feet. He's be stomping around in them grapes, making wine. Let's see. Question: best way to prepare body for pregnancy over 35? To prepare your body for pregnancy over 35. I don't know, like, I don't know if there is like a difference. Like, is there a thing that you would do in particular at 35 or over 35 that would prepare you for pregnancy? I mean, that's kind of broad, right? Because like, what is there a lack of progesterone? Is there like low estrogen? Are you overweight? Are you underweight? Are there like pre-existing underlying medical conditions that you need to resolve first in order to get ready for pregnancy? Like, you'd have to narrow it down a little bit more in order for me to give you a better answer. Like, I would need more information to deal with that. Like, if you're naming like 35 years old, like, oh, what can you do to better prepare over the age of 35? What is the age of 35 implying? Like, what happens after 35? So I would have to know a little bit more information about that. Let's see. I bought glutamine that you mentioned. Do you have an estimate on seeing results? So typically, like, you could see results in like your first week, right? As far as like the scientific data shows, typically your most noticeable differences would show up after 12 weeks, 8 to 12 weeks. So yeah. Hell, you remember? Yeah, I remember. I remember like little things from my childhood about granddad. I remember things from my childhood about grandma too. L, appreciate you. Can you tell me what all I need to know about soy and tofu? What are the misconceptions for soy? Is it really harmful? Is it really a harmful food? Can it be beneficial? Generally speaking, like soy and tofu are like, really good beneficial foods. Right? So you got tofu and then you got tempeh, which is basically fermented tofu. And both are made from soybeans. Really good source of magnesium, really good source of iron, copper, calcium, really good source of omega-6 essential fatty acids, some omega-3 essential fatty acids, really good source of zinc, which is really important for insulin sensitivity and pancreatic health. Tofu definitely helps to boost testosterone in men. It protects against excess estrogen because of the phytoestrogens in tofu. It actually has a protective benefit. Tofu can have positive and protective implications for men as far as protecting you from prostate cancer. And then for women, tofu scientifically has been shown to protect against breast cancer. So the flavonoids in tofu, or just soy in general, have a protective effect. They balance out estrogen, so they modulate estrogen levels to have them sustained and regulated at a healthy level, right? So generally, soybeans or tofu have positive health outcomes. The only time you should really avoid it is if you have a food sensitivity to it. All right. Let's see. Can a person with insulin resistance drink coconut water? Yes. Coconut water essentially is just water and electrolytes with a little bit of glucose. So yeah, coconut water is fine. It can actually improve insulin sensitivity. If anyone is familiar with Dr. Max Gerson from Germany, he used a lot of carrot juice in his approach to healing cancers. Also, Chris Beats Cancer healed stage 3 colon cancer with carrot juice. Yeah, so basically the beta carotene. The beta carotene is really good for deploying melanocytes that have a healing effect. Beta carotene is really beneficial for preserving the pigmentation of your cells and regaining pigmentation of your cells. And pigmentation is an indication of the integrity of the cells, right? So when you have like a deep pigmentation, that's a sign of good health, right? So a tan, dark colored eyes, dark hair, right? This type of thing. Pigmentation, deep brown pigmentation, particularly. But yes, the polyphenols, the carotenoids and whatnot in carrots are extremely beneficial for fighting cancer. Absolutely. That orange pigmentation. That's a lot of beta carotene too if you're juicing carrots. How can we calculate the number of carbs we need on the days we strength train? Usually, when I write a diet plan, I do a minimum of 4 grams of carbs per kilogram of lean mass. But for most people, it probably comes out to around 6 grams of carbs per kilogram of lean mass, like in between 5 and 6. It depends on how frequently you train, right, and what your other underlying conditions are. And also, like, the lower your fats and proteins are, the higher your carbs go. So there's a bit of a zero-sum game that you play there with that. I gotta finish this tea so I can eat this meal. The tea's cold. That's right. Like mama do, like son do. Book a call and he can answer your questions. True, I can give you more in-depth answers. Or at least give me time to research if I don't know something. Let's see, is it okay to eat 1 pound of greens a day? Spinach, lettuce, kale, etc. Yeah, you can, that's fine. Generally speaking, I think like 4 to 7 ounces is enough. But if you need like, more vitamin K, or you need more iron and copper, or you need more chlorophyll in your diet, maybe like the greens can be really good for like detoxifying your blood, increasing hemoglobin, red blood cell count. It can be really good for eliminating, body odors, right? And things like that. But yeah, if you're gonna eat a pound of greens, it should be more of like your salad greens or your tender leafy greens. Do you recommend consuming a certain amount of calories per day? Yeah, it depends on the person, right? So usually, your caloric intake is calculated according to your macros, or at least that's how I do it, right? So like, let's say you do anywhere from 0.5 gram to 1.5 grams of fat per kilogram of lean mass. You do anywhere from 4 to like 7 grams of carbs per kilogram of lean mass. You do anywhere from 1 to 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of lean mass. It's that kind of thing. So that's how like I calculate it, right, in terms of numbers. And then basically 1 gram of carbs is 4 calories, 1 gram of protein is 4 calories, and then 1 gram of fat is 9 calories. So if you if you do the math to calculate your macros, and then you do that total amount of carbs times 4, that total amount of fat times 9, that total amount of protein times 4, and you get your total calories doing that. You said soy makes you have a lot of hot flashes. Yeah, so you have like a food reaction to it. So I'd probably avoid it if it's doing that. I learned so much from your channel. Thank you. I appreciate you tuning in. Absolutely. Yeah, you've been up in here consistently. That's what I'm talking about. That's right. Deploy all of this valuable information in your life. You'll see results. Absolutely. Hey coach, how does one get rid of the dark circles on their cheeks and improve skin glow? Ooh, dark circles on your cheeks. That is potential. That is pre-diabetes or very close to pre-diabetes, like so some form of insulin resistance and fatty liver disease. So I'd imagine when you're talking about are you talking about like darkness and hyper skin pigmentation around here, like around the cheekbones? You're talking about like around there? Because that's insulin resistance, right? So that's where you would need to follow a diet where it's maybe like 80-10-10 or some version of that, where it's like a carbohydrate dominant diet, where your carbs are anywhere from like 80 to 65% of your macros. Definitely more of a high raw or fully raw diet will definitely help with that because you get some cellular congestion as a result of the insulin resistance. It can be really beneficial too to supplement with magnesium glycinate before bed at night. I bought 4 pounds of carrots today to juice each day. Look at that. There you go. You are ready. That's what I'm talking about. My mama do is with it. We said I meant in general. I said that pregnancy after age 35 can be considered high risk. Oh, okay. So yeah, pregnancy after 35 can be considered high risk. I mean, I thought it was more of like 40, like beyond the age of 40. Maybe 35. I mean, it depends overall on how healthy you are. Interestingly enough, there is scientific data that actually demonstrates that a woman you can actually extend your life and have more longevity by having a child later in life as opposed to earlier. I don't know how true that is, but I briefly was looking into it. I'm not sure what I was looking into, but there was some data that shows that there are some positive health benefits to a woman having a child later in life as opposed to earlier as far as longevity. So I have to look more into that in depth to read the data on that, but that's something you may want to look into. But if you have any type of like underlying health outcomes, excess cholesterol, high blood pressure, insulin resistance, pre-diabetes or fatty liver disease, things like that, you'd want to reverse those things first before like having a child. Because you don't want to pass on pathologies to your child. I had 2 children after the age of 35. Recommendations are a really healthy diet and exercise. I even kept jogging in first pregnancy until the 7th month. Recommend lots of walks. Yeah, I mean that would be good for like any woman, regardless of age, though, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like if you ask me that over 35, and I'm just like, oh, just exercise and eat a healthy diet, I feel like I should probably put a little bit more meat on the bone, right? So I want to give you like a more detailed answer, right? Like I don't really want to, I try to put some meat on the bone, right? So when you say over 35, I'm like, well, there's a particular thing you might be looking for. I think like whether you're trying to have a child or not, right? You should be active and go for walks and some exercise. That's like good straight across the board to do in any circumstance, generally speaking. It is true. I agree with you on that though, with the exercise, especially if you're older. 35 apparently is old. I disagree. I don't think 35 is old at all. But yeah, definitely, the exercise and of course eating healthy. Which, when you tell a person to eat healthy, it's like, well, we have widely varying interpretations of what eating healthy looks like. So, I try to be a bit more nuanced. Watercress, that's a good one, yeah. Let's see, wasn't there that woman who had a baby at 60? Yeah, you could have a baby at 60. You definitely could. It depends on the health of the woman. This is fire. Lord. Will you save this live? It was very informative. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm gonna put this up on the YouTube channel. So you definitely head over to my YouTube channel to see my prior live streams and whatnot. Oh my God, did you regain your hair growth through diet? Or were you just shaving this whole time? I was shaving my head, but my hair is fuller though, definitely from eating, from the way that I eat my diet, my hair definitely is fuller. Is circuit training bad or does it raise cortisol? It depends on how you do it. I think if your workout is too long, that could be problematic. But I think like if you do circuit training, if it's really intense, but you only do it for 15 minutes or like 20-minute workouts, and you only do it maybe like a couple times a week or something, it should be fine. Oh, this is the jam. That's wholesome right there. That's right, 35 isn't old, not at all. Let me tell you something. I look at women who are like 38 and I'm like, you young. Like, oh, I'm 40, I'm old. I'm like, 40 is not, 40 ain't old. It's not, y'all need to change. 60, 70, okay. Right? If you're like 60, you up there, okay. Right? But it depends, because I mean, you could be 60, but like in really good shape. Right? So you take care of yourself. So like your chronological age is not really everything. Look at Shabbat, right? So you could have people, man, and they just don't age, or they age in reverse. Like they hit a certain age and it's like they just stop aging. Let me tell you, I'm 65 and I don't feel or look old. True. That's right. Mama do got haters. That's right. She'd go out and be having dudes 20 years younger than her acting up. Excuse me, excuse me, excuse me. Can I take up a minute of your time, please? Let me just get a minute of your time, please. Just a smidgen, please. If I wanted to eat raw one day a week, what would be a good plan? So the basic framework I would probably say is you can start off your day it depends, right? If you're doing it one day a week, what do you expect the result to be from eating raw one day a week? Like, what is your motivation for doing it? What is the goal, right? Because that would be able to have me better answer your question. So for example, I could say like, one day a week, you could do, you could do like 16 ounces of bananas, 2 pounds of melon, any melon of your choosing, 2 to 3 pounds of melon, You do 2 pounds of mango, or you could do like, let's say 20 to 24 ounces of mango or grapes. And then you have like a salad where it's just leafy green vegetables, bell pepper, cucumber, hemp seeds, and avocado. And you can use any dressing that you want to use. And that could be like a full day of eating. All right, so you could do that if you just do it 1 day a week. But you know, that's not the only way to do it, but that's just one example. For pregnancy over 35 years, they recommend, what does that say? Amniocentesis? I don't know what that is. For fetal abnormalities. I think that's what the issue is, as opposed to just age. I gotta look that up. Amniocentesis. Let me look that up right quick. Amniocentesis. I'm about to learn. Let me see something here. Oh, it's a prenatal diagnostic procedure when a small amount of amniotic fluids surrounding the developing fetus is extracted and analyzed. Oh, see, that's like outside of my wheelhouse. So when we start getting into like medical procedures, I'm a bit limited on that, right? My wheelhouse is like food and exercise and things like that. When we start getting into prenatal care and tests and things like that, you know, that's a different story. But yeah, checking for fetal abnormalities, yeah, that's definitely a good idea, I would say. So yeah, definitely appreciate you for bringing that up. What do you clean your vegetables with? Vinegar and baking soda and water. Opinions on chocolate. I heard lead levels are not as closely checked up on as promoted for dark chocolate. Yeah, I mean, there's a possibility of lead contamination. I think you would have to do research on like whatever company you're buying the chocolate from, right? So ideally, whatever company you're buying chocolate from, there should be some type of third-party testing for that. I had a tribe member. She sent me like some research on testing lead levels in like cacao, and there's a company that I was using and it was on the list for being flagged for lead levels, so I stopped using it. It was what was it, what was the name of it? It was I don't want to misquote because I don't want to accidentally like slander a company. But the two forms of cacao that I use, it was from this company called Navitas. I had switched to Terrasol, but I'm not sure if it was Terrasol that was flagged or Navitas. I'm not sure. I got to go back and look at what she sent me. So I haven't really been putting cacao in diet plans because I'm like, I got to sort that out to see what the deal is with the lead thing. But like, I don't know if the lead issue is like a perpetual thing or if it was like a thing that blew up at a certain period of time. I'm not sure, right? But like environmental contamination is like a very difficult thing to avoid in our food system now. Like aluminum, lead, microplastics, you know, I mean, it's just in everything. It's insane. So we've got forever chemicals. What are those called? PFAs or PFABs? What's it called? If y'all know what I'm talking about, those forever chemicals. They called PFABs or PFOBs or something like that. It's these forever chemicals where it's just like it's impossible to get rid of these chemicals. They just eat your body forever. Oh, PFAS? Yeah, there you go. You know what I'm talking about. So, I mean, like, yeah, I mean, this stuff is like problematic, right? I mean, you can eat real well, but like just picking the right food choices, it's not going to insulate you from like everything, right? Like environmental contamination is like a real problem in our world right now, but we do the best we can, we detox, we get our herbs on, and we just do the best we can with what we got. Is 1,000 milligrams of calcium necessary? Is it necessary, like on a daily basis? No, not necessarily. Generally speaking, raw diets aren't really that high in calcium. You don't really need a whole lot of calcium. So like, for example, if your diet is really good at preserving the calcium structures inside your lean tissue cells, and you have a largely anti-inflammatory diet, you don't need as much calcium because you're not having calcium oxidized or deployed in order to neutralize acid. So that's like a thing to consider, right? So like more of a raw or alkalizing diet is calcium sparing. So that's like that's a thing to consider. So you still need calcium in your diet to some degree or another, but like 1,000 milligrams a day, not necessarily. And it can't be like a set amount of calcium a day straight across the board for all people, because obviously we don't have the same amount of bone mass and we don't have the same like mineral composition, right? So for example, you need more calcium if you have a magnesium deficiency, but then if you actually increase your magnesium intake, you don't need as much calcium because you're not losing as much calcium. So, I mean, these levels shift from person to person. So just a broad blanket, 1,000 milligrams a day, I don't really think that that's it. It's a bit more complicated than that. What's the lowest in calories a man should go per day if they want to cut fat? It depends, right? So like, there's not like a blanket. It depends on your diet structure, right? I think generally speaking, a man shouldn't eat, or anybody really, shouldn't eat below their BMR. So you have like a basal metabolic rate. And if you're going to be like in a calorie deficit, your calorie deficit shouldn't be lower than your BMR. So if your basal metabolic rate is like 1,700 calories, you shouldn't be going below 1,700 calories on a daily basis for fat loss, right? I mean, quite honestly, I never recommend cutting calories for weight loss. And I don't, that's just not a thing that is in my methodology. I don't do that. Like if somebody comes to me and they're like, hey, I want to lose weight, I'm not like, okay, cool, let's cut calories. I don't take that approach. It's more about, hey, let's improve insulin sensitivity so that you get better blood sugar and better blood pressure and better oxygen uptake. And then get better sleep quality so that your fat metabolism actually regulates and becomes more efficient. And then you lose weight through that. So you have to eat your way out. Like just putting yourself in food deprivation is not really, I don't think that's a great way to try to lose weight, right? Because let's say you normally eat 2,700 calories and then you cut down to 2,300. So then you lose some weight and then you plateau. Then you cut from 2,300 down to 2,000. And maybe you lose a couple more pounds and you plateau. And you cut from 2,000 to like 1,700. And maybe you lose a pound or two and then you plateau. But where do you go now? Do you cut to 1,500, 1,400? how much do you keep cutting? Because if you have a lot of weight to lose, you just keep cutting and cutting and cutting. Eventually, you're going to reach a point where you're not losing any more weight. You keep cutting calories to the point where you're barely eating, and now you just feel miserable and you end up wrecking yourself. That's why I'm not a fan of like just the calorie cutting in order to lose weight. Right? So it's a good idea to eat at or above your basal metabolic rate. A lot of the times you'll actually lose more weight when you eat more, but you just improve your food choices. It's like you can reduce your fat intake and increase your carbohydrate intake. And then, if you want to lose more weight, you eat more fruit. And essentially what happens is your insulin sensitivity improves as you add in more water and more carbs and more fruit and that type of thing. Fruits are anti-obesogenic. So like there's a correlation where the more fruit you eat, the more weight you lose, right? Now, of course, there's a range where like you can't just, I need to lose a lot of weight, so let me just like obsessively pack in fruit. It's not really like that, right? You can only eat with so much fruit in a day. However, I'm a big proponent of fasting. Fasting is not really a calorie deficit. You're not like eating less food. You're abstaining from food in a particular time frame. It's not just eating less, it's a different thing. So if you're really trying to like aggressively pursue weight loss, it would be a better idea to engage in fasting rather than a food deficit, where you're just eating you're just having smaller meals, for example. What's the best way to supplement magnesium if you want to avoid losing muscle mass during fasting? That's a good powder and water. So like magnesium glycinate before bed at night. You can pair it with zinc also. So you can take anywhere from like 15 to 30 milligrams of zinc picolinate with like 2 grams of magnesium glycinate. And then midday, if you're doing a soft fast, you could do magnesium malate, right? And you could do like magnesium malate with like taurine, vitamin C, and like glutamine. You can add creatine as well midday, so you could do that as well. The more supplementation you do on your fast, though, it softens the fast. So I have like 2 things. You have a soft fast and a hard fast. The soft fast is where you're abstaining from calories, but you're still getting in like, minerals and amino acids and things like that, right? You're just not eating meals or food. A hard fast is where it's just water and like some herbal teas. All right, so that's like the different types of fasts. A soft fast is good for like weight loss. A hard fast is good for like autophagy and chronic illness reversal. All right. What kind of sugar do I use? Raw sugar cane or brown sugar? Those are the 2 main ones. Other sweeteners are maple syrup, agave, liquid stevia. I gotta eat my food, y'all. My food getting cold. I've been on with y'all. It's been what? 2 hours and 23 minutes. I've been on for a hot minute here. All right, y'all. Let me call it a night and eat my food and take a shower and go to bed. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. We had a good crowd tonight. Definitely a big discussion, y'all. So I appreciate everybody tuning in, and I will catch y'all on the next Monday Night Raw. Oh, and if you want to book a call with me, hit the link in the description of this video. Or for those of you on Instagram, you can hit the link in my bio and book a call with me, or join my 12-week mentorship, right? So having said that, y'all get some rest. I don't want to keep y'all up too late. I got to go to bed earlier myself. And I'll catch y'all on the next one. And we out. We out. We out.